Thank you, Wilson. Now, Garissa County has been described as an insecure first stop for Al-Shabaab operatives from Somalia. And that was even before militants stormed the Garissa University College campus last week, killing 148 people. Now, as we've seen this evening, leaders from northeastern Kenya are now saying that they can reveal the identities of radicalized youth in Kenya. But what's taken so long to take this action? My guest tonight is the chief executive of the county in the eye of the storm. That's Governor Natif Jama. Does his government have the will and the means to tame terror activities in Garissa County? Well, let's find out. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Nancy.
This evening.
Thank you.
Now, with regard to that announcement you made with other leaders from northeastern Kenya, why would it take this terrible thing happening where 148 people die for you to come out and then say, okay, we can reveal which youth have been radicalized?
Well, it's not coming now, Nancy. The reality is that we have been doing all that is within our capacity ever since we were sworn in and took over charge of the counties. But I think what this time we are saying collectively, as the North leader and Northeastern leadership, is that we need now to work much more closer, much more in cooperation, so that we can indeed bring out the real monster that is operating not just in one county, but in all the counties, because apparently these are people who are moving between the counties and indeed in the entire country in very fast and in very sophisticated manners. You have just, you've heard, you're aware now that, for instance, one of the main killers was from Mandera. Not even from Garissa for that matter. So I think what basically the leaders are saying today is that we will work together, we will pull our efforts together, we will put all our minds together so that we can indeed fight this monster together in unison and ensure that there's no escape for them in any part of the region.
All right, so you're saying that you have been doing things in your capacities. What specific actions have you taken?
Well, actually, for the last 2 years that we were actually running the county governments, we have done everything, including very, very close working relationship with the national government security officials in the counties, whether it is supporting them with patrol vehicles, fuel where it was needed, funds where, for instance, immediate support was required, because we are on the ground, and sometimes we are in a position to roll out maybe issues much more faster, and approvals for that matter. So we indeed have been having a very, very, very strong and very good working relationship.
Well, with that relationship, as you said, over the past 2 years, why does it seem like we were caught flat-footed with this latest attack?
I think the issue of why we were caught flat-footed has been asked, but I want to say, without fear of contradiction, that the national government, security officials in that region have been doing their best. They indeed are there, visible, but let's not forget that this is a monster, or indeed a group that needs to be fought in different ways. It's not just easy to blame the government and say, why has the government not been there? The government cannot, for instance, be everywhere with the security officials. I think what the world needs to appreciate is that this is an international terrorist group that can come in from different corners, and therefore there's need for much more collaboration between the civilized nations of the world.
Right, so let's talk about this list, because you say this is something that you've been working on. Is the government aware of this list that you have? Have you made them aware of the fact that you know these people before?
It's not like we are saying we have ready lists that we are going to pull out of our drawers. What we are saying as leaders of the region is that we can no longer bury our heads in the sand. We now are
sure. So you have been burying your heads in the sand?
Well, it's not like we've been burying. I think what we're saying is that we now are sure more than ever before that we have sympathizers, we have people who are supporting, well-wishers, sympathizers, and therefore what we are saying now is we will indeed take the extra and indeed the much extra effort required collectively so that we bring out these criminals. We will do everything within our capacity to expose them, to portray them, rather, and to ensure that they don't have any hiding place within our midst.
Right. So let's talk about that, because one of the demands that you're making is you want the refugee camps in the northeastern region to be closed. You want those people to be taken elsewhere. But now let's look at a situation where there are 462,970 Somali refugees in Kenya. It's the biggest. The Dadaab is the biggest refugee camp in the world at the moment. Where are those people supposed to go?
I think these people have a country called Somalia, and the UN for the last from 2013 November, the UNHCR and has been talking of a tripartite agreement to be able to shift back these people to some safe spots within the country, within Somalia, and they believe, and I think the reality is that there are indeed some safe places within Somalia where they can be pushed back to. What we are saying is that if the reality, and it looks like indeed that the reality is that a lot of the perpetrators of terrorism in our country are coming from the refugee camps, then I think it's only genuine and fair that they are taken back to Somalia.
So when you say a lot of the perpetrators are coming for the camps, do you have some numbers or some evidence on that? Because as we've seen,
I think you must have heard that when the Minister for Interior spoke in his one of the first press briefings, he did actually confirm that the perpetrators of that heinous act were from the refugee camp.
But we also saw, as you mentioned yourself, someone from Mandera. So it's not exclusively the refugee camps.
Well, it has been confirmed more than once that a lot of activities of al-Shabaab are indeed carried out within the refugee camps.
Would you say the majority? Is that the real hotspot that we need to focus on?
I don't want really to sound like I'm aware of issues that maybe are more closer to the government and to the national security officials, but what I'm saying is that a lot of indications are indeed given that many of these sinister activities are carried out within the refugee camps. So if that's true, all we're saying is that they can be taken to across the border.
Across the border. Okay, let's put a pin in that. We're going to take a quick break and come back to continue this conversation and focus also on that incident in Garissa and just how much was known and how much was done. But just to remind you that you can get involved in this conversation. Send us a tweet if you have a question for the governor at KTN News KE at Kachungira, and we'll put that to him. So the face of terror may not quite be as simplistic as we assume. And I'm still seated with the governor of Garissa, Natif Jama. And based on that story, actually, I've got a good question here on Twitter. This is Ahmed Dis, and he says, why do you blame the refugees, yet the attackers are local?
What we are saying is a lot of what may be happening within the refugee camps may not be known to many of us. Certainly not to us as a county government. So given that this is a huge operation and a huge population out there, the ease of sinister activities being undertaken there or being organized from there could be rampant.
So does that suggest you know a lot more about what goes on within your county than you do about the refugee camps?
You see, as a county government, again, you'll appreciate security is within as a mandate of the national government, but we are in close coordination with them. But how much can we really know of what goes on in the refugee camp is tricky.
Okay, but let's talk about security within your government, because just 2 days ago, Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero was coming out to ask the government to have a more concerted effort in sharing security issues and security briefs with county governments, which suggests that that has not exactly been smooth. Are you saying that in your case, you share security information seamlessly with the national government?
Not entirely. I think there is a structure that is known as the County Policing Authority, where the governor is supposed to be the chair. This particular structure has not yet been formalized in most of the counties, including my county. And I think that was a result of some legal structures being perfected. Now that that has been done, we believe we can get much more closer coordination and cooperation in terms of information sharing, particularly on security matters.
So how much did you know about this attack at the college before it happened?
Not at all. This is really one aspect that we have not had any briefing or any information about.
So your government had absolutely no briefing from the national government about this security situation?
Not on this one, certainly, yes.
Nothing?
Nothing, yes.
And so does that mean there's definitely a breakdown in the system? Because clearly the national government must have had some idea.
Again, I think some of the questions are best answered by the national government. But as I said, I don't want really to be talking now more on blaming any stakeholder in this regard. I think why I'm here is to commit and to confirm to the nation that we will indeed heighten our checks into our people, sensitizing our people against al-Shabaab, and trying to understand and to educate our people that here is a sinister group that everybody needs to mind for them to ensure that their children are not radicalized.
All right, so I'm going to combine a few questions here. On Twitter, Ahmed Siat says, do you have any plan for community policing and information gathering? And as you said, the blame game doesn't get us very far. So let's talk about moving forward. Between these attacks that happened last week and even just now, what have you done? What have you put in place? Because these are your people. You're the chief executive of this county, and they're living in fear. What have you put in place to make sure that something like this does not happen ever again?
I think in terms of the overall security, we are of course talking to the national government to heighten security and securing all parts of the county as much as possible. But I think more important also is for us as a county government and for our people, for them and themselves to be vigilant. And for instance, to ensure that the ideologies like the Nyumba Kumi idea is perfected, that people know who lives, who are their neighbors, that everybody takes responsibility for security. It's not just to say, why not the national government? I think what we need is for everybody to know, for instance, who lives in the next house, who comes into the neighborhood, who goes out, and that's exactly where we want to be, i.e. to sensitize our people in such a way that everybody is indeed vigilant, keen, and fully aware of this imminent
that they can report to authorities.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
Do the people of Garissa trust the authorities for a place, a region that has been so marginalized? What is the relationship between them and the government? Would someone say, I am going to tell the police that my neighbor is involved in these activities?
That I don't think can really be an excuse that because I can't trust the government, I will keep quiet and not report on suspicious elements. I think what can be done is they can even report to the elected leaders, for that matter. They can report to us as a county government. They can report to the county commissioner if they can't report to the police. But again, I think those are the issues. We need to give confidence to our people that they must be reporting of any suspicious movements and elements in the society.
Okay, so Garissa is actually the worst hit county by terror in Kenya. In fact, 37% of the terror attacks in Kenya have been in Garissa. Now, with that knowledge in mind, How do the politics of the area, we're talking about the clans, that are, is that in any way a factor when you're looking at this? You did mention in the interview that Al-Shabaab is killing Somalis in Somalia, and yet they're coming here and killing Christians. And you're insinuating that this is not just about religion. Is it about something else?
Well, certainly it's not about religion. Neither is it about clans or politics. I think it's only fair that the world comes to appreciation of the fact that Al-Shabaab is a sinister, in fact, a cult. I'll call it a cult of some sort. And I think it's only fair that the world moves on from the wrong notion that Al-Shabaab has anything to do with Islam or are fighting for Muslims or a Muslim ideology. Far from it. Because as we said earlier, and it's known very openly, Al-Shabaab are killing Muslim Somalis every day in Somalia. They're killing Muslims everywhere in the world, in the Arab world, and in many other places.
So what is this war really about?
Well, I think it's a sinister ideology. It's basically, to me, a very, very satanic ideology, if anything. I think I'm almost convinced that this is indeed some kind of devil worship organization that believes in spilling blood recklessly. Otherwise, there's no translation. When they kill mercilessly and en masse in Somalia, Somali Muslims every day, Muslims who are going to the mosque to pray, they kill them. And then here they say they're coming to kill Christians. That's a fallacy.